Tonight, recognizing and celebrating excellence in the General Counsel community. The National Post and ZSA Legal Recruitment are proud to present the 2013 Canadian General Counsel Awards. Tonight, we welcome our distinguished guests joining in this celebration. The representatives of our country's leading corporations and law firms. And now, please welcome again our host for the evening, one of Canada's leading litigators, Terry O'Sullivan.
Well, good evening. What a room. As you just heard, my name is Terry O'Sullivan. It hasn't changed since the introduction. And it's once again, my pleasure to be your host and to welcome you to tonight's Canadian General Counsel Awards. It's also my job, if not my pleasure, to ask you to, and this is notwithstanding the presence of some wireless companies here tonight, to turn off all of your Blackberries, iPhones, other mobile devices, leave your pacemakers on. This is the 9th year for the Canadian General Counsel Awards, and they really have become the Academy Awards of the Canadian business law community. We have an outstanding list of finalists tonight, and it's evident from the list of nominees that these awards are truly national in scope. More importantly, perhaps, is that our nominees are also a reflection of and an insight into what defines us as a community. The finalists come from traditional sectors of the Canadian economy, as banking, agriculture, natural resources, and manufacturing, to name but a few, but also from more evolving sectors of our economy, including pension funds, healthcare, filmmaking, and telecommunications. In the banking category, our nominees also include lawyers from MasterCard and Visa, Inc., although credit cards are more often compared to bank robbers than banks. It's just my experience. But when you look at the nominees and you hear them listed, and you'll see their videos later, they're also all involved in their communities in a major way, whether it be in healthcare, diversity, leadership, children's sports, or other important endeavors. And so when the finalists and their amazing accomplishments run on the videos a bit later tonight, please pay attention. There are two groups I want to single out in particular for you to pay attention to, because they don't always get the attention they deserve. The mid-market group and tomorrow's leaders. In the mid-market group, you will see time and again a description of companies and their counsel who are involved in deals and files, who have taken on responsibilities that really are anything but small to mid-market. And these are people who continually punch above their weight. Another category you want to pay attention to, as I just said, is the Tomorrow's Leader category. These are people who've been at the bar 10 years or less, and what they have accomplished in that period of time is truly remarkable. Some of our finalists in other categories tonight were once in the Tomorrow's Leader category, and that tells us and the business community that we are getting something right in terms of developing our counsel. Now, I said last year, in an uncharacteristic understatement, that these were tumultuous times for the world economy. It still is. Greece continues to struggle, Spain and Italy lagging not far behind. The Greek government just recently closed its national broadcaster as an austerity measure. Peter Mansbridge is hosting this show next year. As I said in the opening, this is a national show. These are national awards. However, we are in Toronto, the center of the universe, as we like to call it here. And we do have in Toronto a mayor. Oh, Oh yes, our mayor. Our mayor has recently been the subject of worldwide publicity. He's been referred to in every late-night TV show from Jay Leno to Jon Stewart. And because Toronto's the host city for these awards, we wanted to invite our mayor tonight. However, he was unable to come because the Royal York has his no smoking policy. When that failed, we went after his brother. Alas, we struck out again. It's also a nut-free facility. Not since the times of Jesse and Frank James have two siblings wreaked so much havoc in one community. Maybe the Senate's the next stop for our mayor. Can you expense crack? In Canada, events have been a bit more sanguine. If we haven't been as busy as we've been in the past, there's been lots of corporate commercial activity to go around. It's a sign of our re-emerging economy, I believe, that at least 8 of the top 100 companies in Canada this year made as much money as Tories. Now, 2012 was a great year for Canada's regulators, just a great year. God bless them, and even a greater year for the lawyers who work in that field. Ottawa killed the BHP Bilton deal for the Potash Corporation of Saskatchewan. The CRTC killed BCE's bid for Astral Media, only moments before BCE tried to kill the CRTC. And the China National Offshore Oil Corporation, don't you just love that name? They found heavy weather in their attempt to acquire Nexen, or as they call it in China, the next one. But there were some adroit souls with the benefit of thousands of lawyers who managed to dance around the regulators. The Maple TMX deal finally closed after only, 2 years. And listen to the list of law firms that were on that deal. Are you ready for this? Davies, Ward, Phillips, and Weinberg, McCarthy, Tatro, Tories. Nobody's on a legal aid certificate, folks. Blake, Castles, and Graydon, Borden, Ladner, Gervais, Gowlings, Wildeboer, DeLeese, Castles, Brock, and Blackwell, Faskin, Martineau, Goodmans, Bennett, Jones, Stikeman, Elliott. Listen, I'm not making this up. That's actually the list. A wonderful tribute to the efficiencies of the billable hour. But the acquisitions were not restricted to the corporate world alone. Law firms were at it again. Fraser, Milner, Casgrain merged with Denton's, and Bill Jenkins became the Duke of Denton. Norton Rose merged with everyone else. It is now known as Norton Rose Fulbright in Texas. And McCarthy is presently in talks about merging with a foreign state, but that's been going on for some time. Litigation, my favorite part of practice, was not quiet either. Some big cases. Chevron was sued so far unsuccessfully for $19 billion, a nice tidy sum, by a group of unhappy folks from Ecuador. The Supreme Court of Canada finally pronounced on the Indelex case, the role of pensions in CGCA matters. Okay, put up your hand if you actually understood the Indelex case. Not a hand. The Indelex case is like the North Korea of litigation. Everyone knows where it is and no one understands it. Joe Groya got into more trouble over his supposed incivility. It seems that the Law Society is determined to present Joe with its own Lifetime Achievement Award. Now, last week, the Supreme Court of Canada heard the legalization of prostitution case. For those of you who've read its decision on a national securities regulator, the guessing has to be they're in favor. They also decided the GlaxoSmithKline case on transfer pricing. You all know what transfer pricing is. That's when an associate is billed out of the partner's rates. Somebody really liked that one. God love you, darling. And finally, the Court of Appeal of Ontario and Jones and Sig imposed on the business community a new cause of action called an invasion of privacy. But fear not, my good friend Patrick Flaherty said in the paper there was nothing substantive to worry about, which must mean that it's hard to understand. Now, it's traditionally been dangerous to mention class actions in this room, But not this year. It's been another bad year for the Plaintiffs' Class Action Council. In the Tominko case, the Ontario Court of Appeal overruled a Superior Court judge and said that the limitation period for bringing those actions was not told by the launching of the application, but only by the granting of leave. This decision helps us to understand why there's so few class action plaintiffs' counsel here tonight. They're all having dinner with those nice folk from Law Pro. He got it. In response to this outrageous attempt to limit the earnings of class action plaintiffs' counsel, the Attorney General announced that he's looking at amending the legislation so that the bringing of the application itself will toll the limitation period. And for those in-house counsel in this room, it raises the age-old conundrum. If you were an in-house counsel and you saw a class action plaintiff's lawyer and the Attorney General both drowning, and you could save only one, what would you do? Read the paper or go to lunch? But before we feel too badly for the plaintiffs' class action bar, I must in fairness point out that they had a couple of wins. Ernst & Young paid $117 million to settle the class action lawsuit over the Slane Forest debacle. Sometimes you just can't see the forest for the fees. Bell lost a class action trial in the Northwest Territories. Plaintiffs complained they were charged for a 911 service even though it wasn't available in the Arctic. Imagine the nerve. The damages are about $2 a class member, but you can find out for sure by dialing a 1-800 number that only costs you $3. Now, it's time for me to sit down now, and I hope you all enjoy your dinner. I'll be back about 8:40 for the serious part of the evening, the presentation of the 2013 Canadian General Counsel Awards. Enjoy.